Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 518 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And ladies and gentlemen, this week I am very proud to be sharing a conversation I recently had with Morris and Paul of Blood Incantation. Now, last week I was in Austin and lucky enough to catch the band live at Levitation. I gotta tell you, that Levitation Festival is amazing. A killer experience all in itself, but more on that whole experience later. While I was in town, we caught up at the hotel with the band and recorded this interview in person. Don't get the opportunity to do that too often, so I was very glad we were able to make that happen. The fellas and their team couldn't have been friendlier, and we covered a myriad of topics, which you'll hear about today. First off, it's been a year now, officially a year, since the release of Absolute Elsewhere, which, in my opinion, and the opinions of many, many others, is an absolutely transformative album. It's most certainly a game changer of the metal genre, and that features so many different styles of music. They flow beautifully into one another in a truly captivating way, from metal to prog to soundscapes. The band even collaborate with Thornton of Tangerine Dream for part of it. And truly, I kid you not, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Absolute Elsewhere is an extremely important album. And if you haven't heard it yet, I suggest you give it a go. Stick with it. Don't judge. It kicks off very heavy, so it's important that you don't flinch if you're not used to music that heavy, and I'll bet you'll end up listening to and really enjoying the ride that this album takes you on. It's an amazing record, so much so it's literally changed the lives of the band, as they discuss today. We also talk about vinyl collecting, which all band members seem to be very much into. I'm always seeing pictures of them at various record shops around the world. We discuss the recording of Absolute Elsewhere, the collaboration, the albums that influenced and continue to inspire the band, the sort of records the band collects, the test pressings, and of course, what's next for Blood Incantation, and lots more. Again, I cannot recommend this album, Absolute Elsewhere, enough. Listen to the streams right now and grab a vinyl copy today. The band is also heading out to Europe and Australia before the end of the year, so dates and details and ticket links are available at bloodincantation.org. All right, let me step out of the way and get into our conversation with Morris and Paul of Blood Incantation. All right, so this week on The Vinyl Guide, we are welcoming Paul and Morris of Blood Incantation. We're going on a year now of Absolute Elsewhere. How has this year changed you guys?
Well, it's really changed our lives, honestly. It was about 18 months from when it was recorded until it actually was released, because we recorded it in Berlin in July 2023. It didn't come out until October 24. And so then, we did one tour for it in November into December, and then we didn't do anything again until April of this year, 25. And it's been pretty much nonstop, and we have stuff all the way until December still, to do this year. And we have plans almost stretching into 27 now. And it's been, pretty tremendously changing our lives as far as obviously the attendance at the shows, the level of the venues we're playing, the billing on festivals and stuff like that, but also introducing our music to an entirely new demographic of people way outside of just death metal or old school, type of stuff like that. And, mainstream press, like people like Time Magazine or, Metacritic and things like that, that just regular music fans who don't have an interest in extreme metal have been enjoying the album or whatever. So it's been... Uh-oh. We turn that off?
That's all right. You don't want to turn off the AC in Texas.
No, we don't. But no, it's been really tremendous. It's been really tremendous.
Yeah.
Our lives have changed drastically.
It's allowed the band to breathe in a new way on stage, too. We have a new stage show, a bit more of a production than we ever used to have. And we're excited about it because playing different types of shows gives us this new kind of chutzpah, and we're inspired by this record to continue to make it even crazier. So in terms of it changing our lives, it's like really going to change the future in a crazier way because we're already writing new material at a faster pace than we have before.
Is it fair to say that the shows you're doing now, they're blood incantation shows? Prior to this, you guys were still doing a lot of opening slots, playing with other people's crowds.
Yeah.
Now
definitely.
you're being able to kind of create this bespoke.
Yeah, in Europe in the past, every time we went over, we would do headliners, but it was like 200 cap rooms.
Right.
We've never done a support tour in Europe, actually. As far as the States go, for sure, this last year has been only headliners, and it's the Blood Incantation show with a special guest, generally.
Our last headlining tour in the U.S. was in 2017.
Was there a moment that surprised you guys, that made you realize that Absolute Elsewhere was just this different beast altogether?
I mean, it was in like Rolling Stone, Time Magazine, Forbes. Actually, probably the Forbes magazine article was pretty crazy. Forbes magazine straight up said it's one of the most important death metal records in history.
When does Forbes review records?
Never. Yeah.
It's remarkable, and it comes at a time when heavy metal is experiencing a renaissance, so it's really a perfect storm.
Okay, all right. Because, it is kind of this gateway for people who may not, partake in extreme metal all the way. It kind of gives it, gives people a bit of an entry point to try it on a little bit here. So it seems to be very much a game changer.
It's a good opportunity. It's honestly a privilege to be considered a gateway band because there's a lot worse bands people could get into underground extreme metal through. And a record like Absolute Elsewhere has so many different facets of what makes underground metal so interesting and has so much longevity across a multitude of scenes, whether it's black metal or death metal or speed metal or power metal or heavy metal, any of these types of things. You can get all of that and also exposure to stuff like krautrock and prog and ambient and new age and world music all in one record. And that's, it's a privilege to be able to provide a platform for all these different types of music that we love. And obviously, the records that we love and the bands that we are inspired by. A lot of people can't have a direct line of access to that stuff through Absolute Elsewhere.
Now, you guys are record collectors. This was said affectionately record nerds, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the vinyl record format is something we celebrate here on the show. You guys are clearly fans of it. How does the format of vinyl, how do you approach your music with that format line?
That's the end all. That's the period at the end of the sentence.
The last two LPs, Absolute Elsewhere and Time Warp Zero, are all side-long tracks.
Yeah.
That's with
also
the LP in
and
mind.
An Awakening on Hidden History was also a side-long track. Designed in the traditional 70s format of 3 short songs on one side and 1 long epic suite on the other.
Right. Does that constraint of, 24 minutes a side or something like that, does it challenge the band at all?
I think it's perfect. I really think that gives the music so much breathing room, so much time to unfold the narrative. And, we have nothing against short songs. We have several songs that are 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe not 3, only 1 or 2 that are 3, but several that are between 4 to 6 minutes. And, we actually might be going back to do some experiments with more truncated formats like that with the next stuff. But sometimes, we don't go out of our way to write songs that need to be long for length's sake. We just want the story and the riffs to unfold in a very natural way. And sometimes you need 15, 20 minutes about it, and you can really say a lot. And also just specifically regarding the LP format, side A, side B, that's a record. I personally, we were about to do a double LP. It's not my preferred format because I don't like to break up an album in the middle of it. But having a per side oriented musical listening experience is something that, streaming could never replicate. That single format stuff can never replicate that. But to sit down and be like, I'm going to go on a journey for 18 to 22 minutes and then I get a breathing time and I can flip this record, and you can have 2 complementary sides of a listening experience. That is still the end all be all for why I make music.
I think that's a real human kind of activity. Like the concentration of about 20 minutes is just about perfect.
It's just about perfect. And also a single LP, less than 50 minutes. You can, if you get a C90, you want to make a tape for your buddy, you need a record less than 45 minutes aside. A single LP is perfect for that. A double LP is so annoying if you're making a mixtape for somebody and the last track has to be cut off and then retaped 6 or 5 minutes on the next side of the tape. It's so obnoxious. If you want to make a tape to show your friend great music, a single LP, 2 sides, 45-minute tape, it's perfect.
In terms of mastering Blood Incantation for vinyl, you got a lot of dynamics you're dealing with, variants, within minutes of each other. Does that ever cause any issue? Is that a bit of a challenge in the mastering stage?
You'd have to ask one of the guys who's done the mastering for us.
Arthur Rizek did Absolute Elsewhere, and he, as far as the mixing process goes, he can tell you all about that. He's got a lot of words to say, but as far as mastering goes, I don't know. We never really.
I don't think the mix, even during the recording process, he was already saying this is the most dense mix he's ever made.
Right.
And he still stands by that now, especially after, because that was, before we even finished adding all the tracks. But I do recall vaguely him mentioning that the mastering didn't present any new challenges because the hardest thing was to get it all into the mix in a comfortable way, and that it just needed a little bit of extra help in certain areas to get that final push across the finish line for it. But it took months to mix it, for sure. Just because there's so much sound.
We maxed out the amount of voices that Pro Tools had at Hansa Studios. They had to buy more while we were recording.
Yeah, they had to update their Pro Tools while we were there.
It couldn't access the hard drive fast enough?
It was like a maximum of 256 voices or simultaneously playing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So basically more tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Far out. Now, you guys have traditionally recorded on analog, is that right?
Yeah. First 3 records.
So Absolute Elsewhere was your first digital recording?
No.
Luminescent Bridge, the EP prior to
No.
that.
Okay.
Interdimensional Extinction, the demo. Yeah, 2013. That was 100% digital, and you can definitely tell when you listen to the record. Also, the engineer for that lost the stems, and so the drums are all sound replaced. Like, I'm playing on that record. I'm playing out of an Ampeg VT40 combo amp into a Big Muff, which is not necessarily a good sound, and a Crate Blue Voodoo half stack. Yeah. Not a really good combination for good sounding music. But the Star Spawn, Hidden History, and Time Wave are all 4 guys in a room, live on 2-inch tape, complete takes. So if we're playing an 18-minute song, for instance, like Awakening on
There's
Hidden
no
History,
punch-ins.
Yeah, we really tried to avoid that. And if we made a mistake 15 minutes in, we just had to reset and do it all over again. Mm-hmm. And so
the punch-ins, if there were a couple, but extremely minor things.
Yeah, and it's like there's technically on Time Wave, there's actually less overdubs than there are on both Hidden History and Star Spawn. But Star Spawn is more live in the sense that all of those songs are first or second takes. Only Hidden Species was the third take. Mm-hmm. All the rest are the first or the second take. And so then you just have solos and vocals on top and a little bit of synths. But Hidden History, it's so dense that we couldn't punch in because everything else in the studio, also the guitars, they weren't isolated cabs. They were both in the shower of a bathroom downstairs in the basement of World Famous.
So you would have heard reverb.
So you would have heard both, yeah.
It was a full stack, but the top one was one guitar player, the bottom was the other.
Right. So if you did do a punch in, it would affect the other track. So we just had to do it all together. So we tried to avoid doing punch ins for those records, but Absolute Elsewhere was, and also Luminescent Bridge was the first time we recorded separately, and that was 100% digital. But for Absolute Elsewhere, we recorded the drums on tape all as a live group, and we actually kept the scratch tracks that we used to get the drum take because they just, we played well. And we've technically released records that were recorded as exactly like that and sounded just fine. Mm-hmm. But then we kept those scratch tracks and then built everything up like, 2 rhythm guitar tracks on either side, plus the leads down the middle, synths, acoustics, all the hand percussion, stuff like that. And so the drums have, like, this, in particular, the way the sibilance of the cymbals on digital recording is a little annoying, but recording them on the tape machine at Hansa and then dumping them into Pro Tools kind of got rid of some of that sound. It made the snare sound a little more human. And so then we were able to put all of these, really crazy hot reamped 5150s and stuff on top to make it sound a good combination of organic, but also professional.
Were you a bit hesitant about then going into digital after having so many years recording analog?
I personally was not, because
Yeah.
I know that there's a happy medium, and having the drums on tape, like Paul said, was that happy medium for me, because the drums can be obviously the most aggressive and intrusive sound if it's too high pitched or too digital. So with them being a bit subdued and us playing as if we were recording to tape along with Isaac, that was a good in between.
Right.
Yeah, and Arthur is also, he does everything 100% digital, and so his Grammy nominations and all his records that sound super good. It's like if there's anyone you can 100% depend on to get it done in the box, this is the guy.
And he does use like analog preamps and Neve stuff that has tubes,
And he'll go to a different studio, like because he mixed it back at his studio in Philadelphia, and then he'll.
Aiden, his tech, has a full tape analog studio.
And so he would run stuff through that for outboard stuff and just to affect the sound a little bit and then dump it back into the Pro Tools. So it was a really hybrid process.
I would imagine recording analog, like you said, and of course with these 18-minute songs, you're kind of right on the edge of your seat.
Whole time.
You've got to be bringing it. There's a tension that that adds to the track, I would
Exactly.
Definitely.
And that synergy.
And the limitation.
Yeah. That synergy is really important to BI as far as that's why we wouldn't do punch-ins for stuff like Awakening on Hidden History or Vitrification of Blood Part 1, where it's like we want the take to have the collective synergy of everybody's focus and stress to play that just right. And we don't want to, just because you can do one section at a time, 3 or 4 minutes to go and just make everyone picture perfect. We left imperfections into the mix because that's what makes it cool and interesting for us. It doesn't, not all records have to be that way either. It's not to say there's a right or wrong way to make a record.
Yeah.
Just for what we're trying to say in the context of BI, recording live on tape in 2016 for death metal with 10-minute songs, that's really uncommon at that time. So that was part of the statement we wanted to make. And then with Awakening in particular, an 18-minute track, we could also do that in 3 or 4 different sections, but we want that synergy so that it's like when you go to the show, you see these guys play this song. That's why it sounds that way on the record, because that's what they're doing.
Right.
And the same goes for Absolute Elsewhere.
It's also part of the classic 70s influence that resonates with all of us. That's how those bands did it. That's how they recorded, just live takes.
Yeah.
And while some of the music on Starspawn or Hidden History isn't as overtly paying homage to prog rock or krautrock, our mentality approaching how we recorded it does.
Right. Is there a band or an artist that the group constantly refers to or looks up to, almost like a mentor?
That was like 40.
Like what would David Bowie do in this situation or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we say, what would Trey do? What
Brian
would Chuck
Eno.
do? Brian Eno. We play all of our albums have been recorded with the use of Oblique Strategies cards, the Oracle deck,
King Crimson.
stuff like that. We use that stuff since the first album to try to navigate the mindset of the album and the production process.
Okay. Trey Spruance?
No, Trey Azagthoth from Morbid Angel.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there's multiple Treys you
Well,
can refer to.
Yeah, we're actually about to meet. We're doing a tour with Secret Chiefs 3 in Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking
And
forward
they're playing here tomorrow.
Are Secret? Oh, really?
Yeah, they're playing tomorrow.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, that's no, he could probably tell me that.
Awesome.
So, what role does the band play in vinyl production? Are you guys suggesting splatters, colors, the packaging?
I mean, I did all the layouts except for Luminescent Bridge for all the records. And again, a vinyl record is the period at the end of every sentence I do in art. Sometimes I like just a tape, and I've also been getting into releasing CDs lately. But I love the layout of a record. I love the presentation of vinyl. And to hold it in your hands and read the lyrics and do all that stuff. That's how I listen to music. Like when I don't do a lot of streaming. I don't have any streaming apps and stuff like that. I don't listen to stuff on Bandcamp, even if it's my friends' bands or records I'm trying to buy. I just wait until I find it in the shop. I buy it. I take it home, put it on the table. I listen to it. I read the lyrics, and I just do it. That's just how I like to get into music. So I'm always thinking about layout stuff formatting stuff, and specifically regards to splatters and stuff like that. I actually hate splatter vinyl.
Okay.
But I really like, typically just classic black vinyl. We do a lot of crystal clear vinyl, which is, technically unpopular with people who do like splatters. But like marbles, like just very simple.
We'll get asked every
stuff.
once in a while about the next, repress or whatever. Generally, we're more involved in like the first pressing to be like, is this concise with the colors
Right.
that are represented on the artwork?
And we'll have the
album.
first several kind of in a queue, being like, first it's going to be this one, and we can drop this one over here, and they have a place within the color palette of each aesthetic for each layout. But
after a while, it's kind of hard to keep
Yeah.
up. If there's more represses. And
Yeah,
sometimes
especially with
it
licensing.
removes itself from so much being part of the aesthetic of the album.
Yeah.
And that's okay, which is why we're involved in the initial process.
Yeah. And there's that excitement in the very beginning, and then life gets in the way, tours get in the way.
Yeah.
I totally get that. So when it comes to test pressings,
Oh, I love I collect them.
yeah.
I make my own covers.
You do.
Like I'll buy test pressings for. That's actually how I test a lot of layout ideas. But I make test pressing covers for all of my own stuff, obviously, and like the ones that we have for the band. Mm-hmm. But I also will buy blank test pressings of records that I like of old bands, and I'll make my own test pressing covers.
Mm-hmm.
That I'll print them out and I'll glue them on an empty sleeve, and I'll print the labels out. It's actually how I refine the layouts before I submit the files. The only way to accurately detect typos is physically holding it. Your brain will gloss over typos on a screen. It's the same reason why, journalism and all that stuff on the internet is riddled with errors for many reasons, but typos are a huge contributing factor because your brain on a screen just glosses right over it. But as soon as you print it out, that's why it's easier to find a typo in a book than in an article.
No.
And so I'll do that to refine the layout and make prototypes. And I'll usually I won't print it out until I've done like 70% of the way through a layout. And then I'll print out a prototype, and I'm like, oh, obviously this is too large, or this has too much empty space, or not enough negative space, or this font is yada yada. And then I'll make another maybe 2 max, so maybe 3 total for each layout.
Yeah.
And then once I've printed out the third one, I'm either already there or I'm at that 98th percentile, and I know that if I just fix this one part now, I'm clear to send off the files because I hate typos, and there's a one on every record. But you just have to find it,
Okay.
But I love test pressings. I collect them. I have.
Is there any particular test pressing you have? Not a BI one.
I have an Absolute Elsewhere in Search of Ancient Gods test pressing.
No, but I mean one that's not BI. Like,
Absolute Elsewhere in Search of Ancient Gods.
oh, wait a minute.
Their record that's named after.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a correlation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Burning Witch Goat Snake test pressing that was never released on vinyl. It was only pressed on CD. Never made it past the test pressing phase for whatever reason or not in 2000. And, there's probably 8 or 10 of those maximum. I have an Altars of Madness Morbid Angel test pressing with the original hype sheet. I have Thurgothan test pressings. I have Stargazer. I mean, I literally collect them of my friends' bands. I try to get them all the time. I keep them separate in my record collection.
When you walk into a record shop, you're looking at the wall first, I would imagine.
Well, typically.
These days, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the perks of having a good record collection. You got to
It's a
go.
blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Use new arrivals and then the wall.
Okay. Is there any particular holy grail each of you have you're looking for? You hope the universe provides?
I'm honestly, I've whittled it down. I probably only need I'm going to buy more than 200, but I probably only need about 200 records in my mental queue.
Right.
And I'm more or less there. I actually just yesterday counted my records just for fun because I hadn't in like almost 15 years. And so I was, I'll be more or less complete within another 100 or 2. Obviously, that's just my own knowledge as it is now. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I'm going to discover new stuff very soon that is like, oh, I have to get this or whatever. But as far as actively searching for, I'm probably only searching for about 100 or maybe 200 records left. And a lot of them it's like, maybe I even have this record already, but I need a particular version of it.
Okay.
So I have a lot of doubles, triples, quadruples. I have like 8 copies of Altars of Madness, for instance, including a test pressing.
Okay. All right. So that's one that you want a version from every country, every pressing.
No, just a couple, 3 more. I need a 91 Grind Crusher Tour pressing, limited to 2,000 on a white marble, and I'm still looking for a Czechoslovakian press back when it was still Czechoslovakia in 91 or 2. It's a blue vinyl, but it's allegedly a bootleg, but it was... I don't know. I just really want this for some reason. This is obscure,
Sure.
But just like little ones like that. I don't need, especially modern pressings. I really don't need them unless. Actually, I can't think of a reason why I would, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really don't need them.
Is there a particular record that either of you can't pass up? Like something that
If we were just talking about this in the car, if I ever see a Weakling Deadest Dreams LP, I will buy it.
Yeah,
I do have that record.
Okay.
And I got it in 2006 for $100, which was an impossibly huge amount of money at the time. But this is like $1,000 record now.
Yeah.
Jeff bought one a couple of years ago for like $300.
So
a lot of the stock was destroyed. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So how many survived?
Estimated to be 350, 380, somewhere around there. It was actually pressed by Tumult Records out of Aquarius Records in San Francisco, and the basement flooded, I guess. And so one time I lived in a house where there were 4 copies of this, my old house in Oregon, and 3 of the 4 had the same spine damage on the top of them from being salvaged from this flood or whatever. And we all got them in different places, around the world, but they all still had this very clear, identifiable stuff from being damaged in this flood. So, but they just in the I think it's the U.S. black metal book that Decibel did a couple of years ago. Andy O'Connor did an interview about that record, and he described the circumstances of this flood, which at the time I had never heard of, but it was only pressed in I think 500 or something. So there's probably only.
That's all to say, more people now know about how rare it is, so it's only getting rare.
Yeah. I think one during COVID sold for over $1,000, and it just totally spiked the market.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the weeds here.
Okay. Well, now there's one more person, and I'm very curious about.
It's good. That's good.
So you mentioned a double record coming.
It's not a double album. It's just a double LP.
Okay.
Right?
One thing I was going to mention about double LPs earlier is that I agree with everything Paul was saying about the single LP and just like the perfect sleeve and the experience. And generally when I'm listening to double LPs, I'll treat each disc as its own record.
Well, that's what I mean by a double LP versus double album. A double album is 2 records as one. Each one has its own distinct place.
Right.
A double LP is merely one album spread across 2 discs.
Right.
So it's interrupted in the middle. Whereas, for instance, my next solo record is a double album where each disc is meant to be listened independently. Okay. You can listen if you want all the way through. That's totally fine. But it's 2 separate albums in one package where you can listen to side A, side B. That's a concise album. And then side D or C and side D, that's a second album. They're both complementary, but you don't have to listen to them all in a row to get the album, And so I like a double album for sure. But I think a double LP is often just so long.
It's dense.
It's dense. I'd rather listen to the CD because often the best part of the album isn't that 3/4 mark where you're really in it. And if you're being disrupted by flipping a record halfway through one of the deepest, most intimate parts of the album, it just kind of takes me out of it. So like for records that are over 50 minutes, even if I have the double LP, I'll typically mostly listen to the tape or the CD more because I want to get immersed in it,
Right. The double LP is a big ask.
It is.
It takes you out for an afternoon.
It does. But that's why, like I said, my next one is a double album. I'm not expecting people or encouraging people to listen to both discs all the way through. When you have, it's like a morning disc and a night disc or a rainy day or a sunshine day, you can listen to either disc at any time, but they come in one. It's like a 2-for-1 package, but not, I don't need you to listen to 110 minutes of music.
Would you consider, and I know the current songs probably don't allow it, but would you consider doing like a double 45 RPM version of that?
Yeah, I mean, we made, what was it, Luminescent Bridges 45, so you can slow it down, because we like to listen to music differently like that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, one of my other solo records, Ocean of Peace, is also 45. It's a 12-inch, but it's made at 45 because it's intended to be slowed down if you want.
Okay. All right.
It's like ambient music, but you can listen to it at either speed.
Sounds chopped and screwed, kind of.
I mean, it's textural. Yeah, it just takes you in and more immersive.
But you can listen to death metal records that way too, like Immolation's Atonement slowed down is extremely heavy.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's heavy normal, but like slowed down.
I mean, that record
Yeah.
slowed down deliberately, or it specifically contributed to Isaac writing the Stargate on Absolute Elsewhere. You listen to an Immolation record on the wrong speed. It sounds like Defeated Sanity played by Demolich if you listen to Atonement on 33.
It's amazing.
So what now? I guess where do the songs start? Or does it start with the theme? Does it start with the
just a
riffs
riff.
that the band's throwing around?
Just the riffs, yeah.
Okay.
And that's like I said, we don't necessarily write them to be long for length's sake. We just start with a riff, and then a riff will always give you an answer of where it wants to go next, and often it will want to go more places than less. So we just let the song kind of narrate how it wants to go.
We're also very excitable people, so we like to keep moving.
Right.
If you've listened to our band for a while, you can tell. And we like to jump around to new ideas quite often, so that makes it a bit easier to keep going and going and going.
Now, as I understand, the writing style of the band, the method has evolved over time.
Yeah.
And now it's very much a communal conversation that writes the music.
Each album has a bit of a different approach, and we get a little better at actualizing the intent as we get both better as musicians and arranging it. You know, we can play it better to get the ideas out of our head easier, but we've also developed a more comprehensive musical language where we're able to contribute in a more holistic way. And that actually started with Time Wave Zero. Time Wave is completely collaborative record where there's not a single note where someone's brought it and said, hey, can you play this? And then I'm going to play this part and on at the same time. The only sounds on Time Wave are written by the person playing it on the recording, which had never happened before.
That Time Wave was a huge variance from the path that most people would have expected from Blood Incantation. Was Time Wave Zero necessary to get us to
critically? Absolutely.
Yeah, you may be the first person to have asked that question, because in interviews we usually have to make that clear as to why we did it.
Absolutely critical.
I kind of see it as like almost a palate cleanser.
It
like
was
definitely
quite literally. It was
ginger before you move to another piece of
not just as far as making the music, but how we think about our music and how we interact with each other making the music. It was a palate cleanser for us to, like I said, Hidden History was so dense, it was so intricate that we really needed to kind of blow it open in order to expand the horizon and be able to approach writing music in a new, more holistic way where we're interacting with each other in a much more open manner. And it also, for the listeners, it really set the stage as to what is this band going to do next. So that's the best place you could be in as a band as well, when the audience is anticipating and awaiting rather than expecting and being like, it's going to be this part 2 or whatever. Because each of our records is a little bit different, has something different flavor to offer. But I think because it was such a drastic change for people's expectations, that they stopped anticipating so heartily what could be coming next. And that's what gave us the freedom to be like, well, here it comes. It's Absolute Elsewhere.
Yeah. We don't know. Based on what just happened, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, it allowed the world of music to open up in terms of our influence for what BI can play, like world music riffs, or of course metal riffs, but maybe like some other entirely different genre that maybe we wouldn't have brought to the table at practice or wouldn't have felt comfortable doing so. Yeah, now everything is on the table. So.
Absolutely. So when it comes to collaboration, and you collaborated on this album with the gentleman from Tangerine Dream, I can't remember.
Thorsten.
Did that collaboration beget that music, or did the music beget the collaboration?
It almost kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It was very, it's almost like we summoned this happening.
Yeah.
Time Wave Zero came out the same day that Realm did, Tangerine Dream record, and the covers are very similar looking. And this was completely by accident.
Yeah, we didn't know. And then we wrote to them, our management and a product manager wrote to their manager, trying to make some sort of connection, saying, hey, we're coming to Hansa, where, of course, Tangerine Dream recorded Force Majeure in 1979. And, obviously none of the guys in the band today were there, but we just opened it up saying, hey, we're going to be there. We'd like to meet you. Obviously, you're a huge inspiration, but it might be interesting for you as well just to check out this studio where one of the most infamous records from Tangerine Dream was made. And you know,
we used
obviously,
gear on the record.
That they used.
Oh, okay.
Like all the gear that was in the original Studio 2 downstairs, which is now the Meister's Hall, where we filmed the Obliquity of the Ecliptic music video. That's like the room where David Bowie and like Martin Gore and Brian, all these guys were recording, because it used to be downstairs in this big wood high ceiling room, and then they moved everything up because as the people who owned the original Hansa Studios bought more and more floors of this building, they were expanding upwards. I think now it's they bought all these things, the 5 floors up, and now it's the entire complex up there. So they brought everything from downstairs up into the main room now, and all the rack ears that have blue tape were down in that studio. So obviously they've added stuff since the 70s,
right?
But if there's blue tape on the rack ears of this gear, it was used in that room in the 70s, and so we definitely would prioritize bringing that gear out and to find some way to incorporate
some compressors that were on low,
absolutely,
and
delay units and stuff like that, you know. And Thorsten, you know, I don't want to skip ahead just yet, but basically we wrote to these guys saying, hey, and they were like, we're aware of Time Wave Zero, also very German wording. When we were like, hey, we like ambient music, we made Time Wave Zero, they were like, we are aware of Time Wave Zero. They didn't say that we liked it or that it's cool or good job or it sucked, just that they're aware.
We acknowledge it.
Yes, and we were like, oh, that's a little ominous. So do you want to come hang out here or whatever? And obviously we offered them to jam. You could process our stuff.
This was a very slow communication.
It took like
period.
5 or 6 months, and almost nothing was coming. It was like the next.
We were not
email,
expecting it.
Yeah, the next email down the line said nothing more than the first email. So we didn't.
You had no expectations, though.
Yeah.
You just wanted to meet the guy.
We just wanted to meet him, and we were like, if you want to contribute, you're more than welcome to. If you want to reprocess it, we can make like an experimental EP, like whatever. We can jam, we can improvise. We rented the whole floor at Hansa, so it's like we have the free reign of the studio. If you want to jam, we can do that. And there was no information. But then one morning, we got a screenshot of Thorsten texting our product manager Nicholas, being like, "I'll be at the studio at 11, and I'll bring my MIDI controller."
And we were like,
"Uh-oh, we're going to be there in like 30 minutes, you know."
Yeah.
And
we had no idea what to expect, like what the rest of the day was going to be.
Right.
We weren't nearly done recording the album either. You know, did we have both tracks or just the Stargate at that time? I can't recall, but
you guys had kind of the scaffolding.
We had them. They were just instrumental.
Yeah,
and actually
and not even fully tracked.
Yeah, there was still stuff being made, and the section where Thorsten contributes in the Stargate Part 2, we actually had stuff before we got to the studio recorded. We brought a MIDI sequence over that Isaac had programmed, and we had some stuff that we had been doing pre-production demos for. Mm-hmm. And then we got to the studio, and another collaborator, Nicholas Malmquist from the Swedish prog band Hellas, he was playing Hammond organ really well, and we were like, actually, let's forego this MIDI sequence stuff, do this Dark Hammond thing. And that's actually the name of our group chat on WhatsApp, is Dark Hammond Industries. Because we were so inspired by this dark, ominous Hammond drone. We were like, oh, okay, put this here. It's more like it's like a horror movie or something very cool. And then that is what Thorsten heard. And so he came to the studio. We had both songs, instrumental, no vocals.
With that connecting piece kind of still being worked out.
Right there. Mm-hmm. And he just faced the console and just listened to it for 45 minutes. Didn't say anything at any time during the entire listening session. And we're just like...
I was sitting in front of him, afraid to look back to see his reaction.
Yeah, you just didn't want it. You just like, don't check, you know? Right. And at the end of it, he more or less was just like, okay, so I'll be back. And we're like, okay. And then he had to go do some solo shows and play. I think maybe it was either Tangerine Dream or just him.
Oh, he went away for days.
Yeah, he just left. And we also didn't use the MIDI controller. We didn't do anything. He didn't take, like, I think maybe Arthur bounced the stems for him.
Mm-hmm. Arthur bounced the click track BPM information so that he could make a MIDI map to that whole section. And
so then a week later, maybe 10 days later, we're wrapping up towards the end of our session there. We were there for about 3 weeks. And he just says, hey, come to my studio.
He sent us a small clip in WhatsApp prior to that of him working out something. We're like, well, this sounds insane.
It's happening.
There was like a lot of crazy beeps and bloops. We're like, whoa.
So we all climbed into this car, like a typical European small car, all 6 or 7 of us. And we go to his private studio. And also in his studio it is littered with 50 years of Tangerine Dream gear, including Edgar Froese's stuff that he gave to him before passing on, because he anointed Thorsten as the band leader, saying, carry on, this band has still more to offer, and you get it, so please. And Thorsten's been in the band since, I think, 2005, so he definitely gets it. But, actual gear that Edgar Froese used on Tangerine Dream records for like 30, 40 years are in this room, and so that's already pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so then he's sitting there, he's running Cubase and all these monitors and stuff up, and he just starts playing it. And it is the most profoundly perfect, like you can physically feel these timelines converging of, oh man, Tangerine Dream is making a Blood Incantation record right now. We are listening to it. And he actually used, the Mellotron that he sampled, his Mellotron is actually from before what's the company who makes Mellotron? Chamberlain. Before they came back and started making stuff in Sweden and LA again.
Right.
And so he actually
vintage Mellotron.
No, his is a Mematron or Mematron.
Oh,
Mematron. And this is like a German bootleg Mellotron from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Right. And so it's like a sampler. And his sample for the flute sound is literally sampled from Edgar Froese's actual 70s Chamberlain Mellotron, the exact tape loop that was used on Phaedra and Rubicon and Zeit and things like that.
And he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He did it on purpose because he knew that's the stuff we were obsessed with.
Yeah. Gave you guys exactly what you wanted.
It was really
hard
profound.
Not to tear up.
I did cry. It was absolutely profound. It was so crazy. It was just it was completely perfect. He knew exactly what we were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we have stayed in touch since, and it's an honor and a pleasure to know him. We drove down to Albuquerque, the four of us in BI, when Tangerine Dream was doing their last American tour. Mm-hmm. Got to see him play, hung out with them.
Wow. Is it now? You guys don't do a whole lot of collaborations. You guys are very.
That was the first one.
Do you have any other thoughts? Any dream collaborations?
Oh yeah. I mean, Brian Eno is the ultimate.
Yeah.
But
we have a couple.
We have a couple lined up. We can't disclose at this time. We are going to do something with Steve Roach here soon. We've played shows together with Steve, but we haven't recorded anything just yet. And so we're going to probably take our gear, like our metal backline, down to the Time Room in Arizona, and then have him fill in the space between all this stuff. So we don't need to why would we bring synthesizers to Steve Roach's house? Like, what are we going to do? Like,
he has everything. We already own.
So he's gonna we'll do that at some point. We also have some pretty cool experimental collaboration ideas in the pipeline that I think will throw people for a little bit of a loop. But we just really like that. Before Absolute Elsewhere, we did a micro collaboration for Luminescent Bridge because in the middle of recording, we were changing stuff up and adding doing electric guitar instead of acoustic guitar for the title track, and then adding drums to an instrumental acoustic song. And then we had our buddy Alex Pace play trombone. He was jokingly in the control room, which I'd let this be a lesson to anybody who finds themselves in the studio with us. Don't joke, because we'll do it.
Yeah.
And so he says, "You want me to go get my trombone?" Half joking, and we're like, "Go get it right now." And so now there's trombone on Luminescent Bridge. And he actually came out and did that with us at Roadburn as well, where we collabed with also Tilla from Mayhem. And we did it. So we played Time Wave Zero one night and then a metal set the second night. And the end of the Time Wave Zero, every time we do it, we play the album. We play the album and take a little intermission and come back and we do an improvised track. Mm-hmm. And we'll decide like, hey, it's going to be, B flat or whatever. At some point, it's going to come in with drums or not. And so we had Alex up there playing trombone and doing some kind of ambient trombone, sort of like Sun would do. Mm-hmm. And then Attila kind of vocalizing and just going, and we were just completely free playing, And so we did it. We've done
front of all these thousands of people.
We've done this 4 times so far. Yeah. And it's a free song every time. And we actually did it on the recording itself, but that wasn't necessarily collaborative because it was just the 4 of us. But there's a bonus track on the original. The first pressing of Time Wave Zero, there was one version that was a 2 CD that included a Blu-ray, which has a visualizer disc of stuff to watch. It's kind of like that 90s video game Riven or Myst. It's like a puzzle-based computing. It's the visuals that look like that, and you're on some alien planet. You go through a Stargate and go into space and end up someplace else. And so then the bonus track on the audio disc is a 27-minute improvised track that we did in the studio that we kind of did like Tangerine Dream would do in the 70s, where you record a bunch of stuff and then you whittle away at it. You like chisel it back down. You still like, you delete stuff. You don't do any overdubbing. You just reconstruct it and reshape it from the thing. So that was really cool. But moving forward, I mean, we have, there's people that would be impossible to collaborate with, like Enya and stuff. But I really do think Brian Eno is reachable, and I think that if any metal band and Brian Eno were going to hang out, I do think it would be Blood Incantation. I think he would appreciate it, just because death metal bands make ambient records and collab with Tangerine Dream and stuff like that. So I think he would realize that we're not just trying to, troll people with our interest in experimental music, that we're genuinely fascinated and intrigued by this stuff and trying to contribute to that dialogue with our music as well, even though, all the best records have already been made for the most part. But I think, if Brian Eno was to produce a Blood Incantation record, I think it would be an absolutely astounding record of like crazy stuff.
Brian Eno and Steven Wilson as well.
Yeah, Steven Wilson, that's new for me. Like, was familiar with him for a couple of years because of his collaborations with like Opeth and stuff like that. Yeah. But we just went to go see him for the first time in Denver just the other week. Isaac's seen him several times for like almost 20 years. And is one of his biggest inspirations as a producer and as a musician. And, he's a huge Porcupine Tree fan. And we actually tried to get Steven Wilson to do the Atmos mix for Time Wave Zero, but he was unavailable at the time, working on the new Porcupine Tree album, which was a secret at the time.
Right.
But so...
I'm surprised you guys haven't worked together yet.
Well, his newest record is 2 sidelong tracks on an LP.
And
so, it's part of the same world.
Right. You guys seem to be in the same kind of universe.
Certainly. I think he would definitely. I think that's also quite feasible. I think he would be. Obviously, he's a musical genius and would contribute a lot to the session. But I think he would also appreciate what we're trying to do.
And he's contributed to moving metal forward before.
Yeah.
And he's a record nerd. So
he's a record nerd.
Go to the record shop in between.
Absolutely. I mean, we're actually playing the same day as him in Australia, in Perth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. So if you want to come over there, we'll be doing that as well. We are going to try to... We met him just the other week, and we told him, we gave him a bunch of stuff, obviously, and like a bunch of loot, and we're like, hey, we're going to be there. And there's not much to do in Perth, so let's
you guys are playing at the same hour, probably.
We're playing... It's an 8-minute drive. It's not too far. And we probably play later than he does. His show was pretty early.
Okay.
We'll see how the situation unfolds. But.
Yeah, but we would love to go record shopping and do that stuff, Also, I mean, we were supposed to collab with Paul Masvidal from Cynic, who played on Death's Human. He actually was trying to contribute a solo to Absolute Elsewhere, but his hard drive fried and his studio like melted. That was in LA. Then he even tried to go to Nashville to re-record the solo at his buddy's studio. And by that time it was just too late. We had to submit the mix as it was, basically. And so still kind of yearning to do that. That would have been really cool. We also had the vocalist for Titan Blood was going to do the Spanish like Black Death band. Ignacio was going to do some guest vocals on the album, but his buddy Malta from Necros Christos, who the Necros Christos Titan Blood split, this is a very important thing for us. We actually did the Spectral Voice Blood Incantation split, a 7-inch layout as a direct homage to this Necros Christos Titan Blood split 7-inch from 2006 or 7.
That's the super rare one, right?
It's pretty rare, yeah. Well, we actually have kept it in print in Europe because our buddy David, who runs a great record store in Copenhagen called Extremely Rotten, his record label has released the European repressing of this. We did a repress of it from the bands in 2020. It was like a 5-year anniversary. And that one was 2 or 3 times as many pressed as the original, which is 500, which is pretty rare. It's pretty expensive. But the European one, I think people are unaware, but he's kept it. I think there's like 5 pressings of it. And they're all identical, so you can't really tell. Because the point is just to get the music out there and to share. Like if you want...
The packaging is a bit
it's slightly different. You can tell. It has Danish on the back instead of paying them more than $10.
Does he do the poster for those?
No, there's no poster. And if you want the genuine article, you can pay the piper and get that rare boy. But if you want the music, that 7-inch has the first song written for both bands.
No.
So it's like it's a cool little time capsule, and it's a launching point for this whole thing. The last, I guess it came out 10 years ago. Yeah. So
What's the rarest Blood Incantation record out
The
there?
liquid one. We have a liquid filled copy of Hidden History.
Okay.
And it's I want to say 30 copies.
Okay.
I mean, not counting stuff like test pressings.
Was that done by Romanus?
No, it was done by
the same
Church of Vinyl.
Church of Vinyl. They
Okay.
did a fold out. They kinds of the shaped 7-inch picture disc, a fold out version of Hidden History, where it's like a pop out book.
Yeah. How was that sold? Was that just day of?
I don't even know. We did get them.
We got them, but it did. They were like way later represses, you know.
Yeah,
So,
like I think this came out 2 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
So it wasn't at the time. I mean, there are several variants of stuff that's like, you know,
the OG tapes,
limit 100
that's
and
not
stuff like that.
records,
But, you know, yeah, I guess the OG Astral Spells tape, there was an official 100 copies, but also the original first pressing of Starspawn, the red vinyl is 100 copies that was only available for pre-order.
Okay.
And it's like, I kind of think that's a pretty cool rare one because it's not a repress. It's not like a limited variant of it. It was just, he just pressed 100 and sold them all to the first people who ordered it.
Right.
And so that's a pretty rare one.
There's the Friends and
You know.
Family clear pressings.
Yeah, there's 100 clear that has, it's not even on Discogs actually.
Okay.
And he did that for, Dark Descent did that for several records in those years. 2017, 18, and he would just not tell anybody, and they're just for friends and families. You know, test pressings. Actually, there's no test pressings from Blood Incantation except for the split 7-inch until we started working with Century Media. Actually, until we did Live Vitrification. We self-released a live record in 2018, and there's only 4 test pressings.
Right.
That's probably the rarest because the other ones have like at least 5 or 10 test pressings, you know.
Yeah.
But Live Vid at the time, we were so poor, you could only afford 4. It was the max that we could get.
So each band member's got
Yeah,
one.
so we each had one.
Yeah.
That's probably the rarest one. And then that liquid-filled Hidden History is crazy.
I'd like to do, how's it pronounced? Zeotrope?
Oh, Zoetrope?
Yeah.
Zoetrope,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd like
Yeah.
to do one of those.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
would be pretty rad. Yeah, you can do it with the new album.
We were waiting. I mean, one of those guys hit us up, and we were like, "Yeah, you just have to. Unfortunately, you have to go through the official channel, so we have to license it through the label and get in touch with the product manager at Century
Right.
Media and stuff like that. Like as we want that very badly, but we don't have the authority to say, "Here, do it now with this version."
So I wasn't sure if there was like one proprietary guy who does it, or if it's now a thing
think there's
that
a
numerous
couple.
people do.
Zoetrope, well, I think those are just picture discs, right?
Yeah, but they're like the art is made in a way that
Yeah.
it makes.
I wasn't sure if it was trademarked to where like this one person makes them.
Oh, okay.
For a while, I was only aware of one guy specifically that did all the biggest ones, like Sabrina Carpenter, etc. All this pop stuff.
I didn't even think about that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that-
But now
Zoetrope-
I know, like Iron Maiden released their 40th anniversary Power Slave one as one of those.
Yeah.
And I'd be shocked if it was that guy
Yeah.
who did it. You know?
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, because Zoetrope has been around since like the 16th century.
For
or something,
sure.
You know, so it'd be, if someone had a trademark on a record.
Yeah,
that would
that's a
be-
good point.
Yeah. But yeah, you can do flames. You can do have all sorts of elements
Absolutely.
incorporated.
We would love something like that.
Oh, bitchin'. Okay. Well, we're celebrating the year of Absolute Elsewhere. Are you guys already thinking about the next one? Like, what do you have stockpiling riffs?
We
Where
do.
are you at? Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
It's about as much as we could say about
Yeah,
that.
of course, of course. Yeah, but you guys do things pretty quick. You know?
Well, some people say we do it slow because there's about 3 years on average between all of our records.
That's not bad.
But for us, we don't.
You're not on tool time.
We don't like
Yeah.
doing a record every year. I mean, there are very few bands that have been able to deliver consistently an album within a year. And for us, we're only playing each album. We get a little bit better at physically playing, which makes it easier for us to transcribe these ideas that we can hear and think about. And we need the time to grow with the material and to be able to push it because we don't want to just pump something out because we made it. We want to take the time to cook it and make it proper and something we really, truly, genuinely believe in. And if that takes, 3 or 4 years, that's not a lot of time for us, And so we're not in a hurry for it. But like Morris said earlier, this album, because of the collaborative expansion of our musical lexicon via Time Wave Zero, this album came together much quicker. And then because of this album's integration of all that learning curve, now we have even crazier ideas already. And typically when we record an album, we're so spent that we gave everything we could, and so we can't even start thinking about new music for at least a year.
Yeah.
But this album, it was 18 months before it came out, but even before it was released, we already had ideas. And that never happened before, because this album inspired us quite a bit to keep going down that path of collaboration and trying to see how much crazy stuff we could put in this pot. And I think the next stuff will be even further out there. Like, it'll be as this one was before it. Each step increases existing credentials of each album. Like, it's going to be more technical, it's going to be more progressive, it's going to be more brutal, more aggressive, but it's also going to be more beautiful, more atmospheric, more melodic. We're going for more concise stuff, but it's very inspiring for us to be able to play this music and still be enlivened by it at the stage show. Like, we've been playing. We're about to go on the 4th Absolute Else tour when there was only originally supposed to be one. We were going to do the tour, album comes out, and then like at the end of last year, we were going to do the tour, album comes out, and then 2025 comes, let's just go and play whatever. And that's the 10th anniversary of our demo and all this other stuff. But because Absolute Elsewhere continues to kind of explode, we just have to keep extending the Absolute Else tour. And normally that would be kind of tiring, where it's like, hey guys, it's just this 30 minutes of stuff that we've been playing a bunch. We've done like 90 shows or something for it.
You pretty much play it from beginning to end.
We do. The Absolute Else Tour presents Absolute Elsewhere in full, and then a basically full second set of older songs. And currently we're playing one song from each album, except for Time Wave, obviously. And, not tomorrow, unfortunately, because it's just a festival. But on the Absolute Else Tour, if you come see it, like in Australia, we'll be playing a song from every album and the new album in full. So there's something for everybody from all eras of the band.
Excellent. Well, happy anniversary.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is a super important album. I really do. And I think, it's still very new. I'm sure you guys are so close to it. It
still feels new.
Perspective seems, but I think this is an album that years from now people will see as a demarcation point, as an inflection kind of point. And I've been sharing it with a lot of people who normally wouldn't be into metal.
Yeah.
And I just have to say with the caveat, give it 10 minutes. You got to get through.
They'll play something you like eventually.
Yeah.
just let the song go.
It'll get there.
I actually was watching I love to watch, I don't care about reviews, and I especially don't like critical analysis of stuff, because everyone has their own opinion about why we make our music, but it's not necessarily interpretable that way. It's like, you're allowed to, but however you might think we might have made it, it's probably abstracting it from the simple fact that we just like music and we just made it this way because we like to hear it that way. But I do love to watch reaction videos of people who have no prior knowledge of this and listening to it or watching the video, the Stargate music video. Right. And I love to watch people react to it. But I've noticed that some people, because it's truncated for digital streaming with like part 1, part 2, part 3, some of these reaction videos, they only listen to part 1. Okay. And I'm like, right when it starts to go into this Tangerine Dream part, they're already getting very surprised, and they were not expecting this type of mishmash of styles. But it's like, well, now this record's about to get really crazy. Yeah. So like, but then they stop because they were only recommended by their streaming, partner to like just review this or react to this one part or whatever. So that's one disadvantage of the streaming stuff kind of dominating the industry, because it does need to be broken up for that type of stuff, for playlists and things like that. But having a 20-minute uninterrupted song is still, I think, so cool. But also, in this day and age, it's a big ask for people. I don't perceive it to be a big ask. I think it's totally very normal to commit. If you can't give 20 minutes of attention to music or art in general, I mean, that's your prerogative. Yeah. But I don't think you can really suss something out in 4 minutes. But that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles in this modern industry part of it. But I think a band, like a record like this, also compels you to listen to track 2. Like if you know it's 3 parts of one song, why would you only listen to part 3 or part 2? It wants you to recommit to the album format experience, which I think that might be a good thing in the long run.
Is that kind of a trick with the tablet 1, 2, and 3?
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. Yeah, it's because the way streaming works, if you have a 10-song, 10-minute album, 1 minute per song. That 10-minute album of 10 songs will make 10 times the royalties streaming than an hour-long one-song.
Right.
And that's completely fucked up and doesn't make any sense at all. And all the, intellectual property right laws for music and stuff were made in the 30s and 40s. They're pretty antiquated. And so there's no reason for that to be the way. And also we're talking about, when I say 10 times the royalties, I'm talking about 0.00004 cents per stream. But you'll make 10 times as much if you have a 10-minute album with split up into 10 tracks than you will of an hour-long album with only one song. And we learned that the hard way with Awakening on Hidden History. The label was trying to say, you guys should split this up into 2 or 3 parts. And we were like, why the hell would we do that? This is a 20-minute prog song on purpose. We want people to be able to listen to it. You should not be able to skip this. I wish you weren't able to skip it on these records. But, the minuscule
Which is why the LP
exactly
is
the LP is the ultimate way.
Right.
And for Time Wave, same story. We did it 20-minute songs, but that one we sort of arbitrarily split up where the first and second and third movements were. We only did that at the end, looking at a 20-minute file. We're like, all right, well, this one gets kind of quiet here, so cut that as part 1. And then
if you skip on the CD, you'll tell it's not.
Yeah,
right,
it does. It's not supposed to do that. But at the same time, we did try to be a little more cognizant of how, the inevitability of streaming and people how they're going to be listening to this record. We were more deliberate in how we arranged it with the sections. So each one, even though there are just 2 songs, there is a little bit more logic behind the splicing.
Right.
So if you wanted to, for instance, right now on streaming, the Stargate Part 2 is one of Tangerine Dream's top tracks. And that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. So, that's cool. And for instance,
if we were going to be forced to play the game, we were going to do it that way.
Exactly.
I was going to say, why don't you just take it and do 50 tracks?
Well, to be fair, bands do that, and that's an absolutely real thing. And a lot of times, I have a CD that has like 71 second tracks at the end of it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a 30-minute album, and then the remaining 40 minutes are just 1 second tracks or 1 minute tracks of just noise or silence or whatever, just to get those numbers up. Because even though it's insignificant, like non-music, the label and the streaming people still pay for that insignificance 10 times more than they would if it was just, an hour-long song. And so I would 100% do that. Just make every song, it's like a 70-track album with 6-second songs each. That it all plays through uninterrupted or whatever. That would be very funny for me.
And then you'd really earn that Forbes review.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe we do that for the one after next. We do have the next couple of things planned out, but maybe for the 5th one.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, again, thank you very much. I know you got a lot on, and thanks for making the time.
Yeah, our pleasure.
And I swear, when you guys get into Sydney, you need to get some record shops.
We do,
I'll
absolutely.
drive you
I don't
around.
think we
I'll
ever
make sure
bought
you
any
get to the
records
right
in Sydney.
spots.
Not to my knowledge.
It was too hot last time to go record shopping. To be
Yeah.
honest.
Might be again, but
I know the right
we'll make the
spots.
time.
Let's
We'll
go.
make it happen.
Let's go.
Cool. All right,
you.
thanks, guys.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man.
Very nice guys, and very much record nerds, as you've just heard. And I can't wait to see them again in Australia. They're coming down, I think, in November. Secret Chiefs 3 is also on the bill, which is incredible, and they were at Levitation as well. I got to tell you, everyone, you guys need to make a pilgrimage to Levitation at least once in your life. It's an incredible festival, and I hope I get the opportunity to go again. That's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Appreciate the ear time, and those of you who are leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and those of you who are sharing these episodes on social media, putting them on Facebook groups and Reddit forums and all that crap. That is certainly appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new interview. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves. And thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.